big jump away from music happened when I was in college. So I started college when I was 16 at UCLA. And I had, at the time, thought that I was going to double major in music and genetic science, actually. And I walked on campus and I saw an editorial in the school newspaper that was comparing Ariel Sharon, then the Prime Minister of Israel, to Adolf Eichmann, the Nazi. And I walked into the editorial office and I said, I'd like to write a counter to this because that's ridiculous. And that turned into like a regular column. And by the time I was 20, I had a published book. I had a syndicated column when I was 17. So like things just take radically different paths. But yeah, again, I think
so. This path chose you. You didn't really choose it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that looking for opportunity and then taking advantage of the opportunities that come in front of you, you have to be aggressive about the opportunities that present themselves. But as far as adversity, I mean, they're just things that happen in life, and you either choose to let them break you, or you choose to use it as sort of as a jet fuel for what you want to do. So for me, the biggest obstacles for me were always, school bullying, for example. I started college at 16, which means that I was 2 years younger than everybody else in high school. And I had my growth spurt until probably junior or senior year in high school. So I was like 5'2" and 100 pounds soaking wet for most of high school. And that's not exactly a great way to be popular. It's particularly not a great way to be popular when you're very, very smart. So like stereotypical bullying victim. And so there are two ways you can deal with that. One is to kind of turtle, and one is to be like, okay, fuck you. and so I really cultivated a sort of chip on the shoulder.
Have you ever got punched in the face?
No. I was hit with a belt. I was not punched in the face.
By your dad?
No, God forbid. No,
same.
No.
Very different upbringing.
Yeah. No, my parents are. As I say, my
so
parents.
So who hit you with the belt?
At school when I was in high school.
Somebody hit you with a belt.
Oh yeah, it was a bad story. It was at a sleepover. They used to have what was called a Shabbaton. It was a Jewish school in high school. They had like a Shabbaton. They put me in so I bounced around a lot educationally when I was a kid. So in the Jewish community, very often you start your kid off at a Jewish school and then they stay in Jewish schools all the way through high school.
Yeah.
My family became Orthodox when I was 11. So when I first went to Jewish school, I was already entering a class where all the cliques had been formed. Right, so I went to public school until I was 11. Then I went to private school for a couple of years. Then I went back to public school for a couple of years. Then I went back to private school for a couple of years.
And if you don't mind me asking, why the bouncing?
Finances. Some of it was finances. Some of it was...
So that your parents wanted you to be there, but sometimes they couldn't afford you to be there.
Yeah, for sure. When I was in 5th and 6th grade, I went to a private Jewish day school. They couldn't afford for me to do that, 7th and 8th grade. 7th and 8th, I went to Walter Reed, right over here.
Okay.
And I went to the magnet school.
May I ask you, which one do you prefer when it comes to educational learning?
So I think that they offered different things. The magnet school was phenomenal intellectually, but values-wise, not so much. And I'm a big believer in the idea that smart kids tend to continue to be smart, as long as you don't really, really screw things up. But values can be jacked by the time you're 15 or 16 years old.
We'll circle back to the whole like school thing, because there's a whole education thing I kind of want to learn from you. But I want to hear the rest of the story.
Yeah. So I mean, when I went to high school, I was a couple of years. I'd skipped 3rd grade, and then I got to high school, and because I'd been in magnet school, I'd already learned everything in 9th grade. So I just skipped right into 10th, and so I skipped into a class where I knew nobody, where all the cliques had been formed for 10 years already. And so I was kind of the outsider to the entire class for a variety of reasons. And so when it came to, which group I got placed with in terms of socially, very often if there was, a social event like the Shabbaton, which was like a sleepaway, they would kind of put me with the cast-offs, like with the bad kids, even though I was a good kid. And like very good kid. And so, I ended up there, they were bullies. So they, hit me with belts, that kind of stuff. So it was really bad. And so, again, I could sort of use that as, okay, it's me, but I don't know. Some of it's probably makeup. I never thought it was me. I always thought they were just assholes, and so it was like, okay, fine. So they're bad people. But again, I think part of that is just being. There's something to the idea of, to use a sports analogy, constantly being the visiting fan at a home game. And for me, my whole life, it was kind of like that. Right? I've been a conservative person living in blue areas my whole life until the last few years. I'm an Orthodox Jew living in non-Jewish areas for a lot of my life. I was a newcomer to the Jewish community when I came into the Orthodox community. So I was always sort of the person. I'm a White Sox fan going to Angels games my entire childhood, right? So literally, I have sort of a pathological draw toward rooting for the team that's visiting. So even now when I'm like in Miami and it's a National League game or something, and I have no interest in either team, I end up just randomly rooting for the visiting team because it's so ingrained. So what that does, that sort of trains you to feel a sort of okay, you want to come after me? Let's go. Like, that's okay.